Hello again in day number 108. 108. My name is Mary, and today's story is David spares Saul's life. David and his men hid in many places in the mountains of Judah, often hunted by Saul, but always escaping from him. Once David was hiding with a few men in a great cave near the Dead Sea. They were far back in the darkness of the cave when they saw Saul come into the cave alone and lie down to sleep. David went very quietly toward Saul, his sword in his hand. His men watched to see him kill Saul, but instead he only cut off part of Saul's long robe. His men were not pleased at this, but David said to them, "The Lord forbid that I should do harm to the men the Lord has anointed as king." David would not allow his men to harm Saul either. After a time, Saul woke up and left the cave. David followed him at a distance, then called out to him, "My lord, the king." And I'm going to show you a picture of David sparing Saul's life. Here is David holding a piece of material that he cut off the king's robe and trying to show it to him. Saul looked around, and there stood David, bowing to him and holding up a piece of his royal robe. David said to Saul, "My lord, O king, why do you listen to the words of men who tell you that David is trying to do you harm? This very day the Lord gave you into my hand in the cave, and some told me to kill you, but I would not. See this piece of your robe? I cut it off to prove to you that I won't harm you, though you are trying to kill me. May the Lord judge between you and me, and may the Lord give me justice. But my hand will not touch you." When Saul heard these words, his old love for David came back to him, and he cried out, "Is that your voice, my son David?" And Saul wept and said, "You are a better man than I am, for you have done good to me, while I have been doing harm to you. I know it is God's will that you shall be king, and you will rule over this people. Now, give me your word in the name of the Lord that you will not destroy my family, but will spare their lives." David gave his promise to Saul in the name of the Lord, and Saul led his men away from David. But David still kept his hiding place, for he could not trust Saul's promise not to kill him. And it was not long before Saul was again looking for David in the wilderness of Judah, with Abner, the commander of his army, and 3,000 men. From his hiding place in the mountains, David looked down on the plain and saw Saul's camp almost at his feet. That night, David and Abishai, one of all his guards, were asleep. Saul himself was sleeping with his spear standing in the ground at his head, a bottle of water tied to it. Abishai, David's follower, knew that David would not kill King Saul, And he said to David, God has given your enemy into your hand again. Let me strike him through to the ground at one stroke, only once. I will not need to strike twice. But David said, You can't kill him. Let the Lord strike him or let him die when wills it, or let him fall in battle. But he will not die by my hand. Take his spear and water bottle and let's go. So David took Saul's spear and his bottle of water, and David and Abishai walked out of the camp without awakening anyone. In the morning, David called out to Saul's men and to Abner, the chief of Saul's army. Abner, where are you? Abner answered, Who are you? Then David said, Why haven't you kept watch over the king? You deserve to be put to death for your neglect. See, here is the king's spear and his bottle of water. Saul knew David's voice, and he said, Is that your voice, my son David? And David answered, It is my voice, my lord, O king. Why do you pursue me? What evil have I done? I am not worth all the trouble you are taking to hunt for me. Saul answered, I have done wrong. Come back, my son David, and I will no longer try to harm you. For you have spared my life today. David said, Let one of the young men come and take the king's spear, as I have spared your life today. May the Lord spare mine. So David went his way, for he could not trust himself in Saul's hands. And Saul led his men back to his home at Gibeah. David was now leading quite an army and was a powerful ruler. He made an agreement with the king of the Philistines and went down to the plain by the Great Sea to live among the Philistines. They gave him a city called Ziklag to the south of Judah, and David and his followers lived there during the last year of Saul's reign. And that was the word of the Lord. Now I will share with you the discussion questions. Number 1, why wouldn't David harm King Saul? Why wouldn't David harm King Saul? Do you think he was right? That's the second part of question number 1. Do you think he was right? Then, number 2, what 2 things did David promise Saul? Number 2, what 2 things did David promise Saul? Number 3, what else did David do to show Saul he was safe from him? What else did David do to show Saul he was safe from him? Number 4, did David believe Saul's promise to him? Why or why not? Number 4, did David believe Saul's promise to him? Why or why not? And that was the last question I'm sharing with you. Thank you again for being there. I hope you feel good about listening to those short bedtime Bible stories. I'm definitely enjoying what I'm doing. So may God bless us all till we meet next time again. Bye bye now.